Considering our current worldwide circumstances, you'd think Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't knock on your door. They've even told their members to default to other forms of witnessing, like writing letters to people or social media witnessing. But somebody recently told me they had some witnesses knock on their door the other day, even during a worldwide pandemic. What are they thinking? They must not have gotten the memo. Either way, I find it really fascinating that they find alternatives when they view the reason not to congregate as legitimate. Like the virus situation. Jehovah's Witnesses started using Zoom to hold their church service. Solid plan. They're doing the right thing there. But why didn't they do that when they got banned in Russia? The governing body members told their members in Russia to continue meeting covertly, despite the fact that Russia seriously mistreated these people. Why? Why didn't they find another solution like they have in this situation? They could have saved lives. I can't imagine what explanation they have for it besides the fact that they absolutely love to be persecuted. They view it as a badge of honor. They're about to be in real bad shape anyways. One of the cures being used for this illness is basically a blood transfusion from somebody who's recovered from it already, because people who recovered have the antibodies. If you infuse somebody with blood containing antibodies, it helps them fight it off faster. If that's the ultimate solution, which who knows if it actually will be or not, but if it is, it'll mean the deaths of Jehovah's Witnesses. I really don't want to see any harm come to them. I was a kid knocking on doors once too. As they say, there but by the grace of God go I. I'm lucky I didn't get in a serious car accident when I was little. Lucky I didn't actually need a blood transfusion, because I'd be dead right now if I had. So I want to see as many Jehovah's Witnesses make it safely out the other side as possible. And I fear that it's coming to a point where lots of them are going to be faced with a tough decision. Sacrifice themselves to the governing body, or to Jehovah as they view it. Something that God only asked for 3 times in the Bible. Isaac, Jephthah, and Jesus. And something that he actually followed through on in only 2 cases. Something he never demanded of the typical follower. So by declining the life-saving blood transfusion, they aren't really sacrificing themselves to God. They're sacrificing themselves to men. I hope any Jehovah's Witnesses giving this a listen take the time to mull that over. The point I'm trying to make here is that you should be putting up signs to prevent Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons from knocking on your door, because Jehovah's Witnesses have the potential to be more fucked by this situation than any of us. Even if you don't get a sign from me, I want to start a campaign where people put signs outside their doors that'll deter Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons. Put something up that tells them to go away. You're in social isolation. Tell them you think you might have the virus and you don't want to infect them. That's how we're all supposed to be acting anyways, as though we have it and we don't want to spread it. If you want to get a sign from my store that conveys the message, I still have them for sale. But as I said, even if it isn't one of mine, you should put something outside your door anyways. If you want one of the signs, then click the link in the description in the pinned comment and it'll take you to my Etsy store where you can get one. You can also reach it by going to telltaleatheist.com/3D store. I have some other stuff on there too, like mugs and stickers and stuff, so give it a look. Anyways, with all that being said, let's get into this Caleb and Sophia video. It's called Love Your Neighbor. I've done every single Caleb and Sophia video so far. This is next in the list. Let's give it a watch.
Who is that? Does she go to our school?
Good morning, everyone. We have a new classmate. Her name is Priya from India.
She's from where?
I don't know. I've never heard of it.
Okay, so let's work in pairs again. Who needs a partner and can team up with Priya?
This is actually an interesting storyline for me. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and we were told that school was our territory. So when I was a kid, Jehovah's Witnesses didn't really use these newfangled electronic devices called the computer machine. We used good old paper and dry erase marker. We'd basically check out these little laminated territory maps. We had like 50 of them. They covered every street of every area of every city in our district. So we'd go to the literature counter at the back of the Kingdom Hall and ask them for the oldest territory map. We'd work every house on the list until we finished the the map. Then we'd write the last time it was worked on it, and we'd turn it back in. That way, no matter how few people there were in the congregation, the entire territory would get visited after a long enough period of time. But there were some areas that we just couldn't reach, like gated communities and stuff. So when I was growing up, I was told that school was my territory. Lots of kids I went to school with lived outside of Jehovah's Witnesses' reach. We couldn't just go knock on their door. Maybe they were never home on a Saturday morning, or maybe they're in one of those gated communities. So they told the kids in the congregation to preach to their classmates. That most definitely made me the odd man out. I was ostracized, made fun of. I was weird. All the kids knew it. In retrospect, the really strange vibe I gave them was probably a positive thing for society. They knew from a young age that Jehovah's Witnesses were weird. But it didn't help that I changed schools in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and finally dropped out of school from 7th to 11th grade. Not only was I really strange, I just never stayed in one place long enough to make real friends. And having real friends was kind of forbidden for me anyways. I was allowed to have acquaintances. I was allowed to talk to them while I was at school. But hanging out with them outside school, going to their house, having them at my house, being in any kind of meaningful relationship was completely forbidden for me. So I actually completely understand the look on this kid's face. In reality, this is pretty much how most Jehovah's Witness kids feel in school. Let's continue.
Hey, Sophia! We're a team, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, great. So, for the first page, I'm thinking we can do this, and then that.
She's taken.
Yep, that's pretty much how it was.
So, what did Jesus teach us to do? To be a real neighbor like the Samaritan. Sophia.
He taught us to show love and kindness when somebody needs help. Priya! Over here! Hi, I'm Sophia.
Hello.
I like your outfit.
Where'd you get it? My mom made it. It's from my country. The color is salwar kameez. This one is my favorite color.
What's it like where you live?
I actually think this is an interesting underlying message. I go so far as to say it's a good message. It's really a shame this religion does as much mental, emotional, and financial damage as it does. But something I noticed when I left the religion is that Jehovah's Witnesses are very anti-bigotry. Well, that's not exactly right. They're actually pro-bigotry, if we're using the proper definition of it. Intolerance toward those who hold different opinions from oneself. I guess you could say they're very in favor of joining people together and erasing those racial lines. Surprisingly. I wondered why that was, because a lot of evangelical extremist Christians strangely seem to be super right-wing in America, and they disproportionately tend to be Trump supporters. Jehovah's Witnesses are apolitical. They don't believe in taking part in the political system at all. They run a sub-government that they call a theocracy. Basically, a government with Jesus at its head. And of course, the invisible man in the sky passes down secret orders to the governing body, who then conveys the message to regular members. Nothing suspect about that. But historically, Jehovah's Witnesses have actually been very good on racial issues. The founder and some of the early leadership have a very seedy history with it. But it isn't anything like Mormonism. I'll get into their ugly history with race one of these days. But I always chucked Jehovah's Witnesses' viewpoint on it up to the fact that they don't want to draw the tribalistic divide between races. They don't want to draw the us versus them line between black and white. They want to draw it between insiders and outsiders. Jehovah's Witnesses and non-Jehovah's Witnesses. They view everybody as God's children, and they don't put up with members who view people of other races as any different than themselves. In a way, I consider myself lucky to have grown up with that mindset because I had a jump start as compared to people who came from other religions. I have lots of fellow YouTube friends who tell me that they were really bad people in another life. Jehovah's Witnesses did program in aspects of my personality that were extremely negative, but it mostly revolved around me being subservient and easily manipulated more than aggressive and hateful. So credit where credit's due. Their people are very accepting. They'll take in anybody who they think they can manipulate manipulate and brainwash. Before I get off of here, I want to reiterate something. Please, please tell people not to come to your door by putting a sign out there saying something like, I'm in quarantine, I'm assuming I have the virus, so if you don't want to catch it, then please stay away. The governing bodies brought a temporary halt to the door knocking activities, but not all areas have received that message. And they've actually told their members that if they don't knock on doors, then they could be responsible for those people's lives if they don't make it through when Armageddon starts. Basically saying they'll be guilty of murder if they don't knock on doors. And if that's the case, then that means they won't make it through Armageddon either.
Some can't do maybe as much as others, but we have, as Christians, the God-given responsibility to warn others. So you just take a look, and this is the idea Jehovah's getting across, at your hands. And you look at your hands now, only God, as he looks at your hands in here and all those that are tied in, does he see blood there? The humans sitting next to you, they might have an idea because they know you well and you haven't been out in service in weeks. Well, guess what? Most likely God's seeing some blood all over your hands. Or they go totally inactive, and we appeal to them, we try to help, but you cannot water down what God says here. If your hands are not clean because you've been out warning, then they have blood on them, and you're going to lose your life. That's what it is.
He's talking about seeing blood on your hands. What he's actually talking about is something Jehovah's Witnesses call blood guilt. It's a kind of umbrella term that covers a number of quote-unquote offenses or crimes under their sub-government, which includes murder and blood transfusions. Apparently, not spreading the governing body's propaganda when you were fully capable of it can fit under that umbrella too. Jehovah's Witnesses take this very seriously, so I implore people here to put up something that'll keep them away. Write it on a piece of paper and put it out front, whatever it takes to keep you safe and to keep them safe. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Don't forget to check out my Etsy store, and if you want to sign straight from me, you can get it by clicking the link in the description or the pinned comment. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.